watchful exactly, more observing. He was tall and broad-built at the shoulders, his blazer immaculately tailored. Not quite the type to be living alone in a rented flat at this time of his life. For some reason this made me think of my younger sister Tash, never settled, always moving on.
"It hasn't been rented before," he said suddenly, has it?
How can you tell? I asked him, curious.
"Oh, I've seen quite a few places this week, and this is the first one that doesn't make me want to throw myself under a bus on the way out."
He fixed me with an intense look. Brown, that was the colour of his eyes. Not the brown that Roxy and I shared, the type that changed in the light like an autumn leaf, but that rich nut brown, true and steadfast.
"There's something quite soulless about a rental flat that's just been vacated, isn't there? Like a motel room, when there are still stray hairs from the person before, when you can still feel their body heat."
Body heat. Now I wanted to repeat his words, though I stopped myself just in time. "You make it sound like a crime scene," I said, chuckling, "and it's not that, I assure you." I realised that he was eyeing not me, but the shelving space behind me, and in a peripheral nook somewhere inside I registered disappointment. "I live next door," I added, though he hadn't asked, "with my 2 children. It used to be all one flat, but we sectioned this bit off and gave it its own front door." He just blinked at this, as if to say, "We both have our bad luck stories, let's spare each other the details." For a second I forgot myself and allowed my eyes to transmit the message that I didn't want to be spared the details. I wanted to know, but he was already out of range. It was probably just as well.
"Can I open a window?"
He strolled across to one of the windows, reached for the brass lock and pulled up the lower sash. I assumed he wanted to check how much traffic noise we got up here. Not much, for we were right at the top of the building on the 5th floor, and waited as he closed it again and refastened the lock. He was the 6th person to come to view the front portion of my flat and consider renting it from me for £250 a week. Perhaps it was my distress at having had to bisect my home in this way, literally walling off 3 of the 9 rooms to create a separate apartment, that had made me a less than exuberant guide to the previous 5. 2 couples, a single woman had already been and gone, all professionals in their 20s and 30s, all charmed by the sun-filled living room that used to be my study. And it was charming, with its parquet flooring and original sashes, the fat old radiators that took up so much space but felt so nice to pat. The woman, a solicitor, had pulled out checkbook and references there and then, but I'd waved her off, waved all of them off, murmuring of last-minute details that had to be attended to before any final decision could be reached. There were no details, of course. I had done everything required of a new landlord. But as long as I could put off that final handshake, I could stave off my fear that my sanctuary was to be invaded, that my life would never be the same again. "Would you like to see the bedroom?" I led Calder through to our old spare, now guests would be on the living room sofa, and then to the bathroom beyond. "There's only a shower, I'm afraid." It was my old cloakroom cum utility room, and made a decent-sized bathroom for a 1-bedroom rental. My 9-year-old son Matthew suffered most from the loss of the space. Playing sports most days, he had used it almost as a locker room. Muddy wellies and trainers were accommodated in the kitchen now, or out on the fire escape. Roxy, of course, kept her footwear in her bedroom, the better to conceal illicit new acquisitions. I tried to remember what she'd worn on her feet this morning as she trotted off to meet Marianne at the garden gate. Her flip-flops, possibly, the ones with an oversized pink rubber flower sprouting between big toe and second. "So, what do you think?" I asked him finally. He nodded, more to himself than in response to my question.
"It's a nice place, but a little small, to be honest. I've got a lot of books. There's no way I'd get them all in here."
"Well, have a think about it. Would you like a coffee before you go?" He looked at his watch.
"Yes, why not?"
I wondered where he was going next, where he had come from. There was no coffee.